got Maria and Jonathan from BuildOps. Thank you guys for taking the time to chat today. I'm really excited to tell the origin of what you guys built and how it came together.
Yeah.
So thank you both for being here.
Glad to be here.
So you built a successful real estate team before you started building technology. And I think that's really important to preface is that you guys built for a problem that you had originally and didn't decide to go and continue down the road of having a bunch of different technologies that you were using. So at what point did you guys decide that you were going to go and build something to solve for what you had?
Yeah, so I'm going to really set the stage from an operator lens because I think Jonathan always knew in his head from a scalability standpoint, just from the clients that he represented with Fortune 500 companies, really knowing what it took to run a business. But when I came into the fold as COO, the very first thing I did was I said, okay, what is everything that it takes to get this company to tick? From taking a listing live to when it goes under contract to marketing, all these little pieces that make Spears Group who we are. And when I started to peel back the layers and figure out, okay, how can we make this a repeatable process that's easy for me to follow and give me the data I need to be able to make informed decisions from a financial lens, as well as bringing agents into the fold, as well as a process that both my agents could follow consistently without having to come to me every 5 seconds to figure it out. That was the aha moment for both of us, that when we were like, people are doing this out of spreadsheets and Google Docs and Google Drive. There's no just one centralized hub for all of this data to live for your day-to-day business, as well as the financial piece of your business. And when we realized that problem, Jonathan and I were like, how are people operating like this? It's like he mentioned to you before, it feels very flip phone era-esque instead of iPhone era. So when we realized the problem and everybody else we were talking to is experiencing the same thing, we decided we're just going to solve it. Instead of waiting for somebody to come to us with a solution, we're going to create the solution because we need it. And we know everybody else in this industry that's operating like us need it as well.
Do you think that, if you guys would have waited longer, that there would have been a product that would have been a solution for you?
No. And that's what we're learning today. Even people that take a look at it, when you create a software, especially one that is a system of record, right? You're always like, man, why has nobody else come up with this? And is this an easily replicable idea? And just knowing what it took by saying, look, we've got this idea and we want to take it to market, that difficulty is monster. And let me just say this, going back to the why, why and how did you guys get into this? For me personally, I know the problem of producers, and that problem's production at the highest level. In my business, I had solved for that issue, right? I was producing, and I was producing some more. The problem is when you're out there catching dollars, you're not really looking and paying attention at where those dollars are going. Mm-hmm. And if you this is the number one, listen to me if I tell you nothing else on this call, this is the number one issue with producers, is that most of the time we call Maria an operator, but most agents hire an operator, and instead of operator, they get an entourage. And that entourage is just chasing them around and trying to pull the chaos out of their mind and implement a process. And the problem with that is that the producer's too busy in production and they're never really giving full attention to how their money's being spent and how their business is being managed. And I think that is the ultimate essential reason that we created MyOps. I looked at a P&L one year and we had produced, hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. But when I looked at the profit margins on those sales, it wasn't exciting. I was like, man, where did the money go? And Maria's like,
I can tell you now, and we'll get into this further into the interview, Troy. But one of the questions you asked about that I kind of want to set the stage for any team leads that are listening to this, you are operating two businesses. You are operating as the principal agent in the deals that you're doing, and then you're operating the deals your agents are doing. Those are two separate financial lenses that you need to be looking at, as well as two separate expenses that you're looking at. If you're combining the two of those together, you will not really understand how your business is operating. And that's just one layer of what we've solved within MyOps, but it's a very, very important one that I just really want to further underscore at the beginning of this conversation.
I love that. All right, we're going to come back to that. So we've talked about this before, but you've described brokerage technology as operating in the flip phone era versus the iPhone era. Break that down a little bit more.
So the
I
iPhone,
love I wish we had flip phones again.
I know you love your flip phone.
I love my flip phone. I want to hang up on someone and feel like I hung up on them.
Listen, flip phone is so nostalgic to me. I remember being in my grandfather's office and he had like the dial, and there's just something fun about, physically messing with that. The problem is that in the flip phone era, especially in the age of AI, we get left behind. And let me tell you why. AI has the ability to query multiple databases and scrape a lot of information for you. Its purpose is to save time so you can go out and do more of the things that humans are great at, which is building lifelong relationships and making raving fans. And when I say the flip phone era, pre-iPhone, we literally, we didn't have everything here. There's not messages. There's not, there's no digital camera. We had to basically work across devices. I mean, I remember roadmaps, right? Like for any of you Gen Z agents out there who've never seen a roadmap, it's traumatizing, especially when mom and dad are screaming at each other like, you read the map wrong. Now we have everything integrated into,
right?
That's right. That's exactly right. It's all integrated into one spot on an iPhone. And I think that's the power of brokerage tech. Truly from an operational standpoint, like we didn't have an ability to put it all in one place. We were living in 5, 6, 7, 8 different softwares. And I'm sure if you're listening to this today, like that's very relatable.
So financial literacy within the platform is one piece of it. And I do think that is one of the number one things that like team leaders and brokerages not so much. They have it because they've got their back office stuff, but like teams typically aren't running in a back office, and the confusion of like we said, running 2 separate P&Ls, most run one. So the confusion of the personal production versus the other production of the team members gets lost. But what's like one thing that you think is the reason why top agents don't really know their numbers?
I think for me, and I guess we could both answer this because she's in proximity to top agents all the time as well. I think top agents don't know their numbers because they don't want to know their numbers. They are not, it's almost like somebody who goes, I really want to be fit, but I don't want to step on a scale, right? Like I don't really want to know what I'm spending, right? I enjoy having this excess and this overflow. I enjoy going to a restaurant and I'm not really scrutinizing the bill or thinking too much about what I'm ordering. I'm just making sure that I am generating enough up here that I don't lose it down here. And as long as you live in this sort of gray margin, especially as an agent, you're good. The problem is, and you and I touched on this the other day, so many agents live behind on their taxes. They end up living paycheck to paycheck. And I equate it to this like lottery mindset. It's like, okay, bam, we won the lottery. Let's go out and have some fun. And instead of doing the things that kind of got you to that lottery win, you're out there just enjoying the spoils of war. And so what changed in my mind was going from that excess to really being able to understand how to be efficient. So it's excess to efficiency. And that in general is an unlock because ultimately I spend so much money trying to buy back my time, whether it be hiring more people or spending a lot of money on marketing that is really vanity versus value. I don't know that unless I'm knowing every number that's coming across my expense report.
And I think from an operator lens and just being, like Johnathan said, in proximity to so many top agents across the country, I think a lot of times finances feel very complex when you start talking to people about it. They're like, man, I've got to build out 5 different Excel sheets and I've got to run these formulas to figure out where this business came from and what I spent on it. And so I think there's just a level of complexity that almost like accountants make us believe, to where they're like, you have to come to us to understand your numbers and where your money's going.
It's complex.
Yeah. So what we really try to kind of just unlock with MyOps is, hey, we can show you a very simple way to see every single question you would want to know about your finances like that. So when I'm able to explain to people, hey, you don't have to become a mathematician to know where your money is going and how you're spending it, they get excited because they're like, wow, there's finally a way for me to understand my numbers. So when I get that call from a magazine that's saying, hey, spend $5,000 on an ad for me, I can quickly open up my ops and see in my lead source wheel, okay, I see that I've only made $5,000 thus far this year from advertising, but I've made 50,000 from internet leads. I'm probably going to invest a little bit more in my SEO or my website company before I take on that deal versus basing that decision on emotion. Because I think a lot of times when you don't know your numbers intimately, you make emotional decisions. So that's from my lens is just actually feeling like you have the power of knowledge with your finances. And so we tried to create a really simple way for people to get access to that.
I love that. So at what point did you stop trying to fix your systems and existing tools and decide to build your own platform?
That's such a great question. You want to know when? I remember this point very vividly when we could not remember the password to our passwords list in Google Drive. And I'm losing my mind because I'm trying to get into the MLS. I've got a client asking me for very specific data. And both of us are like, what do we change that password to? We've got 4 different employees that all have access to this document. Somebody changed it. And there's just this level of disorganization that made me feel inferior. I felt like a hobbyist. I did not feel professional. And that's never how we want to operate. And I think that is the epidemic that agents face today, is that they're not able to create consistency, not because they don't want it. I know they do. And I know that I did. But it's because they just don't have the right tools and resources to help them stay consistent, or maybe even the right budget to hire a bunch of people to help them stay consistent.
I think my aha moment was 2 things. One, I have always said you can measure the success of your systems and processes based on the amount of questions you get asked over and over again. And so when I was building out our systems, I was like, why are my agents in my staff asking me the same thing over and over again when I feel like I've already told them where this information lives? And at that point, I was like, I can either keep banging my head against the wall, thinking that they're the problem and I've created the best solution, or I can say, you know what, Johnathan, agents, why is it so hard for you to get that data quickly? And so instead of me thinking that I had it all figured out, I went to the people that I was serving and heard what they had to say. And as soon as they told me, just getting that quick access, that was the unlock on top of what Johnathan just said, where we were like, there has got to be a way that we can centralize the data, have it accessible quickly via AI. And that really was like, okay, we got to build this. Like we've got to create a solution for this.
So who was the one that said, we've got to build this?
Let me just tell you, I do my best work, no matter what business it is. I do my best work undistracted. And the only place on the planet that I can really let go of all the distractions and the chaos of life is on a commercial flight. I typically will get on an airplane. I will not get on the Wi-Fi. I will put in a pre-recorded or a pre-saved podcast or playlist, and I listen and I think about and flush out ideas. And I remember writing the entire business plan for my ops on a commercial flight, and it was with my family. We were heading out to Colorado, and her and I, we had been talking pretty heavily about just this concept of, how do we export and conglomerize all of these systems that we have. And it clicked in my mind, like my operations. Like everybody always said, like, I want a Maria in my life. Like when we would go, we'd speak at brokerages and just encourage them from a sales front. They would always go, man, I want a Maria, which is why our AI is named Maria. Now people can have the support through the systems and processes that we know help scale our business to a multi-billion-dollar one.
And I also didn't want people to believe that I'm an anomaly and that Jonathan's an anomaly. Everyone's level of success.
Well, Johnathan graduated high school at 14. He's an anomaly.
A little bit of an anomaly. He is.
Actually, I never graduated high school. I'm like a dropout.
But what I mean by that is everybody's version of success is different. And what I really wanted us to be able to communicate to people is, if you don't need somebody to hire in and come up with all these crazy systems, we know the basics of what it takes to be successful in this industry. And we took all of that and said, hey, here's in a way that you can follow that doesn't require you to find a me to make that happen. We are giving you me, and then we're giving you the brain of Johnathan, who, let's just say it, we call him the Dewey Hauser of real estate. Well, he is the anomaly, but we're taking the knowledge of what he knows works from starting in foreclosure homes and moving up to $20 million properties and above. So it's showing people, yes, we're doing some really wild things in real estate, but we can give you the tools to create that success on whatever level that is that you want.
Okay, so what would you say when you started designing MyOps was the core principle behind it?
On the UI or the infrastructure?
On the problem you were trying to solve, what was the core principle?
The core principle for me is that agents operate as hobbyists, and our goal is to go from hobbyist to professional. So we built it for us. I looked at my team, and I like, truly, like, I'm very empathetic. If you were to say, man, your superpowers, you went to college early, you did all this stuff. No, I'm just a highly empathetic person. And it hurts me when I watch my agents go from up here and they're on a high and they've closed a big deal and they're just crushing it. And then fall all the way back down here and have to go back through this up and down process. That is so inspiring to help them create consistency in their business, and really to help me also stay on track.
And so for clarification here, and we'll get, I think, into it a little bit more. MyOps isn't just financial information, financial literacy. It's so much more, because I've seen you go into your Instagram and you're walking around a house. Tell me such and such about this, or leave a note that the parking isn't enough, or what's the lockbox code? Like, you guys, it really is running the organization by providing people the information that they should have at their fingertips or be able to recall from memory. And it's like, as Maria was saying, it's like, I've told you this before, but instead of asking me, you could ask this, and it's a repository of all of this information. So it's only as good as the information that it has about a listing or about an agent or about the systems and the processes of the brokerage and such, right?
And Troy, just to hit on that. So you're correct. Yes, the data that you put in there is an important piece, because that's how you're going to be able to utilize it. But everyone right now is tracking their data in some form or fashion, but they're doing it in a very archaic way, whether it's a spreadsheet or a Google Doc or a shared note. What's really great about what we've created with MyOps is, I love the way Johnathan says it. It's like a universal mousetrap. Instead of you having to come up with the questions that you need to get when taking a listing live or once it's under contract, we have those forms built out. So you're entering your data in a very easy fashion. You can do it via the AI or just simply dragging and dropping your listing agreement. So we're simplifying and showing you, hey, this is the data you need to get on the front end. And once that information's in there, it's as simple as going to Maria AI and saying, what's the access instructions to 123 Main Street? Pull me the inspection report for 123 Main Street while my client's freaking out on the phone asking about it. So what we did was, because we were really intentional with the mousetraps that we created in there, it's very simple to understand the data that you need to enter to have access to.
Troy, the entry piece, there are pain points in your business.
Yeah.
And Maria, the AI, is meant to be an assistant in your pocket that has exclusive and local access to your proprietary account. For example, not every MyOps account is going to be equal, right? You could be in one city and, one team has a MyOps account and another team has their MyOps account. It's built out with 100% of your proprietary business data, and it is a third-party storage for that data. This is also a reason why agents have never really been able to sell their business. It's not like there's a market for agent businesses. What we're trying to change is truly that professionalism and a sellable asset for somebody down the road. If somebody would have had a MyOps, like, take a legacy agent that you could think of, if they would have had a MyOps over the last 10, 20, 30 years, that is a system of record for all of their business, that is a incredibly valuable piece. The problem is the system of record for most of those agents to this date has all been up here, or it's scattered in emails, manila folders. I mean, go back just 10 years and it's almost like pre-DocuSign. But for us, like, we just see the opportunity for technology to impact and change the way that people build businesses today. And I think MyOps is at the center of that.
So when you built MyOps, who did you build it for? The solo agent, the team leader, brokerage? Who's the ideal customer?
Do you want to go for the ICP?
Yeah, so our ideal customer is a real estate team. But I'm going to give a caveat to what I mean by that. So most real estate teams, it doesn't matter if it's a team of 2 or a team of 30. In a way, you are operating a brokerage within a brokerage. You are operating a business. And the reason I give you the explanation of 2 to 30 is because the minute you start doing volume in your business, you need to have a record of what that business is, what the finances are, and processes to what you're following.
Mm-hmm.
So what I find a lot of times is once you start scaling, that's when you start building your processes. What I always like to say is build the foundation. So then once you are ready to scale, it's already in place. So what MyOps does is it allows teams like a Spears Group or teams that are level or around that range to be able to implement it immediately, even if they have things they're already using. Or it takes maybe a single agent that's like, man, my business is rocking and rolling. I'm ready to start bringing in help. They already have a system down. So when they bring somebody in, not everything crashes and burns.
Yeah, most people will build the production, which is like building the house before they lay that foundation for the production. And so everybody wants to be that Four Seasons penthouse building. But so many folks don't build a concrete and steel infrastructure to support that building. And what we're learning even now as we get MyOps in the hands of a lot of these top teams is they look at themselves in the mirror on the back end and they go, man, we're held together by duct tape. And this is really an opportunity for us to recalibrate so that we can reach the growth and scale. And by the way, Troy, a lot of agents that I talk to right now, their ideal life at growth and scale means that they get so much more of their time back to pursue family and passion. And I know that you are a great family man. You appreciate that. It's not all about just maximizing finances. It's about getting our time back to do the things that we love and really to be with the people that we love. And that could be in your business, that could be in your family, that could be in your friends group and your community. But that's really the mission for this technology.
It's also giving the operators their time back too. Because I always like to say, when you're looking at your business and what everybody's doing day to day, how can you make sure everybody is doing the most dollar productive task and the highest skilled task for their knowledge? So if I'm sitting and doing something like building out a Excel spreadsheet that I have to come up with the formulas and do all these crazy intricate things, that's less time I could have been spent with the agents and helping them or going on a listing appointment. So I always like to say, when I mean dollar productive, I don't necessarily mean like all about money. It's just, what is your highest and best use for your day? And if you're doing things,
where do you make the best impact?
Yeah. And if you're doing things that could be automated, you're putting yourself in a bad spot that you otherwise didn't need to be in.
Yeah, Troy,
Okay,
what do you think?
you don't get, no, I get to ask my question.
Ask. I know I'm trying not to be long-winded. Jeez.
Well, no, but I mean, you guys keep going, and it's like it asked. Then I don't get to ask the question that you would have answered. It's like I wanted to ask, how does this change the day-to-day experience for a team leader? But like you already answered the question.
I think actually no. I think how does it change? This is my answer. Why does this change the day-to-day for a team leader? Is I did not ever have visibility over the funnel that our support was in. And so, for example, like imagine Maria's out building out a spreadsheet for SOPs, which are standards of process. I'm never looking at that. I'm never getting that spreadsheet. I'm never looking at that work. There's an old adage that says if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's ever seen it, nobody ever heard it, did it ever really happen? You know, it's our job to communicate these value points and these things that we're doing. And what's beautiful about MyOps is that an operator gets to work in it on the desktop at this high level. And Troy, what we're getting to at the core of its value to the agent and to the agents on a team is that the AI is able to capture all the data that the support team puts in and put that data to use instantly through visibility over the whole team.
And it's not just for the team leader and the operator, it's also giving visibility to the agents. Because what I found a lot of times when I would talk to other team leaders is they would know all this information at the top, but the agents kind of felt like they were in the dark and didn't get that same visibility that they needed to run their businesses, because they're 1099s. They're operating businesses too under your team's brand. And we wanted to be able to give that visibility back to the agents as well. So they know, okay, this is what I've closed this year. This is how far off I am from my goals. Here's all of the different processes and videos Johnathan has filmed on how to cold call and how to send out direct mailers. I have now all of that brains that Johnathan has done, and I can use it quickly versus feeling like it's just with Johnathan or just with me.
Or just on some YouTube channel.
Or then no one knows where to find, and it's 5 files down in your Google Drive in a spreadsheet that you have to click a link that takes you somewhere that you have to type in a password. You get my point.
But I think one of the things to really preface here is that AI and the analytics and accessibility is only as good as where it's been placed and where it's documented. And so as powerful as what you've built is, if it's not actually the repository is not having stuff put in it, it's like a filing cabinet. An empty filing cabinet's useless, but a filing cabinet that's full of information can easily be accessed when it's indexed and put away correctly. Otherwise, if you're putting stuff in the filing cabinet, stacking it on top of each other versus in the accordion folders labeled, it becomes more accessible.
But see, that's what we've done for the agent and for the team is we've already put together the file cabinets. We've indexed everything for them. They just have to enter in the data in 2 entry points. And that's too, when I think of a CRM, take a follow-up boss, for example, you're exactly right. You don't enter in your contacts. You don't have any contacts to manage. It is up to the agent. This is part of being a business owner. You have to be able to take and manage data. And the problem with producers, and the problem that I had personally, is that I wasn't able to stop and slow down and try to create some process and some spreadsheet and all these scattered pieces to try to make sure I had visibility in my business. And that's where we saw the opportunity in the market to disrupt.
So technology only works in this particular situation if the agents are using it. And I think that adoption within technology from a team might say, we're going to use this or not use this, or this is how we want to do something. But how do you design a system that producers will adopt versus ignore? Or in this particular case, the team agents will use and not ignore?
So I think the best way that we made a solve for this with MyOps is twofold. One was we didn't just take what my life is like, which is behind a computer screen all day, and we didn't just take what Jonathan's life is like, which is behind a phone all day. We took both of those brains and we said, okay, what was the issue of why I couldn't get agents to follow processes in the past? A big piece of it was they wanted it to be mobile friendly. Okay, so we made sure that it was mobile friendly. Second piece is, what are agents typically driven by? Performance. Okay, how can we create something visual that's gamified, that when they're looking at it every day, that gets them excited and motivated? So those are the 2 pieces that I really feel like we got in on, was the gamification and the excitement of seeing your performance. And then secondly, making sure that it was mobile friendly and easy for an agent to use, but also the desktop version for operators was the way that they like to visualize it. So we tried not to go too hard one way or the other.
Do you think there's a behavior or specific habits that MyOps will reinforce inside of a team?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's all about reinforcing the pieces that create consistency. It's why you go back to a Starbucks to get the same coffee every day, right? You may love the barista, you may love, just the smell of the room, but we have to figure out what are those experiences and how do we replicate them over and over. To Maria's point on the gamification of MyOps, me as an agent, when I see a leaderboard, that's when this very nice Southern gentleman goes to the side and the lion comes out and I'm like, all right, it's game time, right? I see that leaderboard and it creates accountability. It creates aspiration, and it can create dominance, right? People go, I've got to be on there. And I think for MyOps in particular, we as a team have set up ground rules for how we expect our agents to operate. And it creates this standard of excellence. And I think that's what we've provided now to teams all across the country is this is the standard of excellence. And if you want to be on this team, this is the information that needs to be inputted. This is what we require from you. And also as a business owner, if you're not able to take in, let's just say you have 10 agents operating and you don't have access to that information, God forbid one of those agents leaves or something happens to them, you own that business. You still need to be able to have access to the data and to that information so you can either close it out or serve the client. And I think that's where having this sort of insurance policy and process is so valuable.
And I think too, we live in a world where instant access is becoming more and more of the norm. And the other day, it was very satisfying to see it happen. But one of our agents got a call on a lead, and it wasn't for one of their listings. They're not going to remember all the intricacies of every single listing that's not theirs. So this person starts ripping off all of these questions. You have a short, finite window to answer those questions correctly, or that person's on to the next agent or they forget it. I saw in real time our agent type in, give me more information about 123 Main Street. It pulled everything down to the closest beach access, the closest school. It told them the square footage, the countertops, all of those details. They're just ripping off this information. And I'm just hearing the lead go back and give them more. And I'm like, this is the aha moment of them not freaking out, searching, trying to find data, texting an assistant, or just ultimately not being able to say, hey, let me get that answer for you and I'll call you back. Do you really think that person's going to?
But the system had that information, which made it
yeah
accessible. So if systems like MyOps become common across the industry, how do you think it changes the way that real estate teams operate?
I think that what happens is there's so much more conglomerization. So single agents will likely look to join teams. By the way, let's talk about MyOps and a system like that will create conglomerization regardless, because that professionalism and an agent's ability to get their time back and get more market share is going to be inevitable. But how about having larger aspects of AI and maybe even agentic AI that has access to scrape data all across the internet? How are you as an agent going to make yourself valuable? If you don't have a system and process to repeat the results that you have on a daily basis, you can easily get eaten alive by technology, or you get, and I think somebody posted a video, maybe it was you were talking about like, you can't stand it when people say, oh, AI is coming for your job. AI is only coming for jobs because the jobs that are out there, the knowledge work that lacks a process and that lacks a proprietary relationship component, which is we're so fortunate as salespeople to have. Those are the jobs that are going to get disrupted first. And I think as an industry, we professionalize more when we adopt a technology like MyOps.
And where I think that it's going to really change the industry with mass adoption is, I always like to say, it doesn't matter if you're Walmart or you're an everyday real estate team, you should be operating in the same manner. So I think it's going to bring a whole new level of professionalism to our industry that's only going to continue to elevate us. So to Jonathan's point, when people are like, oh, AI is going to replace you. No, you're not, because we've got our relationships down, but we also have a very consistent system that we follow that is very similar to all of these big corporations that are operating out there. So it's going to be very difficult to disrupt us because we are operating at such a high level. And that's when it just takes you back to that financial literacy piece. We just want to empower people, and we want them to be able to sell their businesses one day when they do want to retire.
So is it safe to say that you see MyOps not just as a product, but part of a broader shift in real estate?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, it's a culture maker.
What's success look like for MyOps in 5 years?
You gonna go first?
Success for me with MyOps in the next 5 years is being able to walk into any real estate team or agent and see that they're operating like they've got a Maria in their corner, that they don't actually have to have me there. And what I mean by that is not feeling like that they have to bring somebody in to reinvent the wheel every single time an agent comes on. I want to be able to walk in and see that everybody understands how the team runs, how to have consistency with your brand. I want there to be the Spears Group, but on every level across the country, that doesn't feel like they have to be selling 400 million a year to get there.
You want my answer, Troy?
I think so, yeah.
All right. What success looks like for me with my ops in 5 years is that we've levered up technology and eliminated the deer in the headlight agent. Let me tell you who the deer in the headlight agent is. It's the new agent that just got their license that goes, oh my God, what do I do? Where do I start? What is this? This is the reason why somebody would invest in, a Chick-fil-A, right? Or a McDonald's franchise. They're investing in repeatable process that they know will be successful. If they set their brick and mortar in this location, people are going to come. They're going to come because of the brand. They're going to come because of the consistency, and they're going to come because of the result. That's what I want to see with my ops. I want to know that when somebody, 5 years from now, if you're a team that's operating on my ops, you are that operational excellence in your market. And that is our vision. We're not going to stop until that's the case.
I love that.
That was a very eloquent way of what I just said. So that was a good analogy put.
Yeah, but he's rehearsed that before,
Never said that before. You're my no, I probably have. That's my vision, right? There's no PR. It's what I want to see. That's why we did it.
And we live it. And we've seen
Troy, how about this? I could just go and say, I want to put Spears Group on every corner. Like, I don't care if anybody knows what Spears Group is. I want them to know how to operate. I want them to understand the issues that I faced. And when I scaled, like, this is the problem. And if you want to get to that level, like, I wish I would have talked to me 15 years ago. Doogie would have been a lot smarter.
All right. So if you could give one piece of advice to a team leader who wants to build a scalable business instead of just producing more transactions, what would it be?
Go for it, Maria.
My response to that would be start with a system and process before you try to just keep adding more transactions. Because the more transactions and the more agents that you add, if you don't clean up the back end of it, it's just going to create more and more problems. So when you are ready to scale, ensure that you have that solid foundation first, and you will avoid heartache down the line.
Yeah, my answer would be stop throwing time at things. And when I look at an agent in my office who goes, man, I'm grinding it out. I'm putting in the hours. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm like, man, you know what? That's awesome. But as a team leader, there is a better way. When you think strategy first and you implement like, let's say the same time you're spending grinding it out, calling a bunch of people, like, you're only as good as your last phone call, right? If you step out, nothing else happens. Nothing else occurs. There's no business to be run. You're gone. You have to build a pipeline. And Robert Kiyosaki, he has this analogy in Rich Dad Poor Dad about carrying buckets. Like, this town was trying to purify water, and they hired, two different contractors. One, these guys went out immediately. They started filling up buckets of clean water, bringing it back to the town. And they did that, and they got immediate revenue. They were on it, but they could never stop. Their revenue stopped as soon as if a bucket spilled or the quality of the water dripped, like, the revenue stopped. Meanwhile, the other guy left and he disappeared. He was gone for like 6 months, and they were all, perplexed. Like, where'd this guy go? He was out building a pipeline. He was figuring out, how do I get that clean water consistently? Pipelines are about consistency. It's the same thing, but it's about being consistent. So that when he decided to step out, there's clean water there all the time. He's not breaking his back carrying buckets. And I think as agents, we need to think about building pipelines, not just carrying buckets.
Wow. I think that's a great way to end this.
That was great.
So thank you guys. I'm excited for my ops, what you guys are building, and check out the demo. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Troy.